Welcome back to the show. This episode of our podcast, the Tim and Shipe Show, is brought to you by My Auto Care. My Auto Care is an auto repair company that will come to you. That's right. You don't have to go out and shop around for the best location or the best time that matches yours, where you have to sit in those disgusting waiting rooms while you wait for someone else's car to get ready so they can finally put your car in the queue. No, this is an auto care company that comes to you where you are. Whenever you need them, give them a call or check out their website at myautocare.com, and they will come to you. Those cold, snowy weekends, those weekends that you just want to spend with the family, or if you're at work and you just want them to come to your location, your work location, they will come to you and take care of your car. That's right. Just check out their website, give them a call, myautocare.com, and schedule your next appointment today. myautocare.com. Check them out. They're a proud sponsor of the Tim and Shipe Show, and don't forget to let them know that Tim and Shipe sent you. You won't regret it. Check out myautocare.com. This episode of the podcast is also going to be brought to you by Affinity Apartment Communities and the Agape Ridge Cabins. The Affinity Apartment Communities, they have everything you need, from a one-bedroom apartment to a three-bedroom home, from the weekend cabin rentals for the Agape Ridge Cabins in Hocking Hills, Ohio. 3 beautiful cabins out in Hocking Hills that is just beautiful. Check out their Facebook page, the Agape Ridge Cabins, and also check out their website, agaperidgecabins.com or affinityapartmentcommunities.com. Fill out your application, set a date, and give them a call, because they make living comfortable. If you're looking for an apartment or you're looking for your next place to settle down, check out Affinity Apartment Communities, because they are a proud sponsor of the Tim and Shipe Show, and we couldn't love them more. What a great company. What a great opportunity to find a comfortable living space. Check out affinityapartmentcommunities.com and start your application today. Let's get to it.
Could be up to the offensive line. No, Prinzel's going to throw for it. Got to get it off. They go for the ball game. Touchdown! Touchdown! Michael Jacobs! Holy Buckeye! Tebow straight ahead into the end zone, and the Gators have put this one on ice.
Hello, and welcome to the Tim and Shipe Show. This is a college football podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. We're part of the Press Play Podcast Network, and Tim and I are going to be talking about college football for the next hour. And just a little background on the show, if you're not familiar, Tim is a Florida Gator fan. I am an Ohio State Buckeye fan. And so Tim is going to, on most points, give you the SEC Florida Gator point of view, and I'm going to be coming at you with the Big Ten Ohio State Buckeye point of view. And as much as we both hate Alabama, we respect them. And as much as we both love our teams, we try to be as unbiased as we can, but we are definitely – well, at least I'm not going to speak for Tim. I am definitely a homer, and I will go with my Buckeyes over everything else almost 100% of the time. And so, Tim, welcome to the Tim. Welcome back. Week – what are we on, 6, 5? I don't remember.
Week 5.
Week 5. We're just cruising through the college football season. And so let's get into it, Tim. Let's start off this show talking about the Florida Gators. What happened last week? What are you looking forward to this week?
Well, last week we played Tennessee, who obviously is not at the top of their game. We've really been down to Tennessee this whole year. We both feel like Tennessee is at the bottom of the conference this year, and even with a fresh quarterback, he's his first start since his freshman year of high school. The Gators absolutely just dominated Tennessee 34-3 in this game. It was not pretty. It was fun to watch as a Gator fan at home, but it was not pretty for anyone who lives in Tennessee or cheers for that team. Basically, Kyle Trask came in and he played well. What I like to see from Kyle Trask, what I really enjoyed and appreciated, is his ability to be patient. Mm-hmm. He was taking his time. He was looking through his progressions. He was making the right play. He did have 2 interceptions in this game, and part of that was just part of that. He's inexperienced, but overall he played really well. He was passing it around. He was throwing to different receivers. The running game still didn't really get it going like we need them to, but overall it was very exciting to see this team and to see what his quarterback and Trask played well. Like he has a solid arm. He's making progressions. He's making his reads. For a player who hasn't played since his freshman year, he looked very comfortable in this offense. Right, since in high school.
Yeah.
He looked very comfortable, and he played really, really well. So this next game tomorrow, this weekend, against Towson, is it's a preparation game before we play Auburn.
Yeah.
That's going to be a really big test. So fortunately, this injury happened, and had a good chance to play Tennessee and then to play Towson back to back before we play Auburn to get him ready and get him comfortable in the offense before we have to play against a solid SEC opponent.
My question for you regarding the Gators: how much with Trask under center now? Do they take a step forward? Do they take a step back? Or you have the same expectations as you did before Felipe Franks went down?
No, the expectation has not changed at all. I think that we all had questions about Franks. Like he had moments. He always started out very slowly before picking it up last year, and we all thought it was him getting comfortable in Mullen's offense. And then the same thing happened again this year. He started slow. He had issues. We had question marks with him and him making progressions, and he wasn't very patient. He would try to force the ball where he shouldn't, and he had a very strong arm, so it seemed like he thought he could get it in there when he shouldn't, and mistakes were made. Whereas Trask seems to be able to make the progressions, and Tennessee's not a good team, but they're still an SEC defense, a bad SEC defense, but still, he still did what he needed to do, and so the expectation has not changed. The only thing that has changed is that people are expecting Trask to step up and to grow quickly and to progress quickly in the offense and to be ready to go. Again, like I said, next week against Auburn. So this is more of a scrimmage against Towson to get ready for the game. And I will be there this weekend. I'll be in Gainesville. I will be wearing the jersey that you bought me last year when I won our competition. I'll make sure we get some pictures on the Facebook page. And I'm excited to see what happens. I'm excited to see how much he's grown over the past week of practice and ready for this game this weekend.
So remind the folks at home, what is the expectation for Florida this year? 1 loss, 2 loss, undefeated? What are you looking at?
So what we're looking at, we have Florida against Auburn and LSU back to back. We have basically a bye week against a bad SEC opponent, and then we play against Georgia. So we have 3 top 10 teams in 4 weeks after this week. So if we can get away with 1 loss out of those 3 opponents, then we have done really well. That's my hope. Realistically, if we lose 2 of those games, I think that a lot of people will be happy. I'm not going to be satisfied with that, but at the same time, a lot of people would be. But I'm hoping for 1 loss of those 3 games, and that should be enough to get us into the SEC championship. And so that's really the expectation from the season for the Gator fans.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so looking back at your game against Tennessee, defense obviously played basically lights out, only giving up 3 points. What is the issue? I haven't watched much of Tennessee. I'm going to be 100% honest. What's the issue with Tennessee? And then I'm going to move on from Tennessee and talk more about Tennessee. But when you were watching this game, what's going on at Tennessee? Why are they so bad this year?
A little bit of everything. They don't have a rushing game. They actually, in the middle of the game, they switched quarterbacks, hoping that would be a spark for them, and it actually backfired. So between the 2 quarterbacks, they had 150 total yards and 3 interceptions.
Ouch.
So it wasn't good. Like that Guarantino quarterback who's been there for a while, he's not good, and the guy they brought in to replace him also was not good. They're a train wreck right now. Like their head coach is a defensive guy who they expected to really coach the defense and make them good, and he has not done that.
No.
They have a couple receivers who are solid, but their running backs are bad. Their quarterbacks are bad. This team, there's just really nothing good going for them. They already had a player this week, I believe, who he went to the transfer portal already. Like this team is just, they're in trouble. Like I don't know how they get out of this, but they pick like their 4th coach. Like the other top picks, he was like their number 4, number 5. They went with him. He was a defensive coordinator out of Alabama, and he just has not been good. So they're really pretty much, I don't expect them to make it to survive this season. I expect that Tennessee will let them go, and they'll try to start over and try to find somebody else. And until, I don't know, they just all the way around, their team is bad.
Talking coaches on the hot seat, let's talk Harbaugh for a second.
Oh, yeah.
Is Jim Harbaugh, along with, what's the name of the Tennessee coach? Irrelevant. Well, what is Jim Harbaugh's status with Michigan right now? What does he have to do to keep his job, and what's going to be the final nail in the coffin? Or was Wisconsin this last week, the embarrassing loss to Wisconsin, was that the final nail in the coffin? Is he basically on his way out, just treading water at this point?
Yeah, I think that Harbaugh sees the writing on the wall. He's going to leave before he gets fired because I think that he's that proud. Like, he's not going to want to get fired, so he'll walk away. Okay. But I think this is it for him. Like, this is just such an embarrassing loss in the middle of the season. Yeah. When this team had high expectations, they're a highly ranked team, and they've just shown that they just can't do it. They're not very good. Like, I don't know what's going on with this team. He picked this quarterback. He handpicked him as a transfer to say, this is my guy, and it hasn't worked out. So I don't think he can survive this. I think he'll walk away because he doesn't want to get fired. But I think
middle of the season walk away, hand the reins over to someone else middle of the season, or right out the rest of the season?
No, I think he'll finish the season, and as soon as it's over, he's gone. Like, he'll probably try to be like, yeah, I'm going to the NFL as a coordinator or something. But I think he'll finish the season, and then he's gone. Like, I don't think he'll survive beyond that.
It was such a perfect situation for Harbaugh at Michigan. Alumni, had a history of winning at both levels, college and at the pros. You know, had the most prolific quarterback in college football history up until just last year with Trevor Lawrence. You know, like, he had Andrew Luck. He won on both levels, and so he was just the perfect fit for Michigan, and he just can't, for whatever reason, can't get it together. This Michigan team has zero identity. Even when they asked Harbaugh about what his team identity is, he had nothing. I mean, he doesn't know the identity of his team. Are they a running team? I mean, because they're averaging, less than 4 yards a carry. Are they a passing team because they can't pass the ball? Shea Patterson looks like he belongs in a MAC school. Like, they can't get it together. And I'm an Ohio State fan who wants Michigan to do well, so that it just makes the rivalry feel better. I'm not one of those Ohio State fans that wants Michigan to lose every week, because when I look at the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry, if I'm looking for Michigan to lose every week, then I think at that point you're a Michigan hater. You're not an Ohio State fan, because if you're an Ohio State fan, you want Michigan to look really, really, really good so that it makes Ohio State look really, really good when they beat them at the end of the year. So I'm not a Michigan hater. I'm an Ohio State fan. And so I want Michigan to do well throughout the year. And so it crushes the conference, even just the Big Ten East. It just crushes it that Michigan's looking this terrible. And I don't know, is Michigan dropping down to that second tier level of team, because they should be a blue chip program, should be that one of the top programs in the country, but they're not. They're more along the lines of probably Nebraska's. Obviously they're not the Wisconsins of the world. They're probably on par with the Nebraskas and
Minnesota. Let's be honest, it's bad.
You think it's that bad, Minnesota? I was hesitant to say Minnesota and Purdue.
Let me ask you this way. Okay. Who would you rather have? Jeremy Pruitt as your head coach right now, or Jim Harbaugh?
Yeah.
It's tough, because I don't want either of them.
Yeah, that's a tough call. All right, here's the way I'm going to judge it. Who's the best coach on the market right now?
Ooh, that's a tough question. That's a good question. Well, obviously, Urban Meyer is the best coach on the market.
Right, that's my thing. Okay, all right. So we're going to go with Urban Meyer, best coach on the market. I'd say Luke Fickell is up there pretty high as far as one of the better coaches that is going to be looking for a different position next year. And so Urban Meyer. Okay, does Urban Meyer have a better chance of winning a championship? Let me just run down some teams.
Okay.
And you tell me Urban Meyer can win a championship here, yes or no. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because Urban Meyer, he's won championships, and he's, if you're saying that Urban Meyer can't win a championship here, you're saying this school is lost for the next decade. Okay?
Sure.
That's basically what we're saying. All right. So I'm going to run down the schools that I think would be a good fit for Urban Meyer, or I think could be open next year. And you tell me yes or no, he can win a championship there. Okay?
Okay. Sure.
All right. 1, Tennessee.
I don't think even Urban Meyer can do enough to win a championship next decade.
Okay. All right. Michigan.
Well, he said no chance he wouldn't go there anyway.
He's not going to go, but if he hypothetically, in our
I think Urban Meyer could do it at Michigan. I do.
Okay. Notre Dame.
Yes, absolutely. I think he's the perfect person to win a championship at Notre Dame. I hate the idea, but he could do it.
Okay. Purdue.
Ooh, no, he's not
No,
enough.
not
No,
even at Purdue.
nope.
I don't know. I can't think of any more.
USC, absolutely.
Oh
He'll win a
yeah,
championship at
USC.
USC.
Yeah, that's
I
a
hate
given.
it. Notre Dame and
USC.
USC, don't do it, please. Urban don't do it because I think he
Yeah.
would be good enough to do it either one of those places.
Yeah. Okay. So the positions that are available, I mean, so we're looking. He's not going to do it. Even he can't do it at Tennessee. So Tennessee, we're looking at least 10.
They're a complete rebuild, like 10, 15, 20 years down the road. They're that bad. They've fallen apart. And think about it, though. It's been almost 20 years since they were relevant.
Yeah.
So I don't think that – I mean, he would help them, don't get me wrong, but I don't think in the next 5 years, maybe even 10 or more, even Urban Meyer could fix that school.
Nebraska? Frost out the door?
I think Frost is going to do it. Give Frost 5 years. I think they'll be a good legitimately contender program. But I don't know if
Where's
Urban Meyer would
Nebraska
even want that
recruit
mess.
from? I think the biggest hurdle for Nebraska is recruiting. Where's their blue chip where's their blue chip states? Where are they getting their talent from?
Well, I think that the technology we have now and social media has helped that a little bit. So if you make it cool, quote unquote, to go there, I think that would help. I think Scott Frost has the potential to do that because he did it at UCF, which if you want to go that argument, he had to go to start out at UCF. He had to go secondary players who didn't want to go to Florida State or Miami in that state, and he made it popular at UCF. And I think that he could do the same thing at Nebraska with secondary players from Ohio, pretty much dominate the Midwest in general outside of Ohio State. So I think he has potential to do that there.
Okay. So I'm going to use this as a segue into the big game for me this week. Even College Game Day is going to be in Lincoln, Nebraska this weekend for the Ohio State-Nebraska game. And my expectations for this game, this is going to be the true test of who this Ohio State Buckeye team is. Because I think this is going to be a 4-quarter game where none of the starters have played 4 quarters all season. So this is going to be a 4-quarter game, and it's really going to test Ohio State. How good is Justin Fields? Can he throw against – I'm not going to say elite defensive backs. I think they're like 54th overall in defense, so they're not elite defensive backs. It's not an elite defense. But and it's so hard to say. I think this is going to be the best defense he's faced all year. And so is he going to be able to compose himself in the pocket? Is he going to be able to make his reads and play the way he has up until this point? Because if I'm being honest with you, I am still not sold on Justin Fields. I know that all of Buckeye Nation, we're talking to him a Heisman Trophy candidate at this point. I am not sold on him because I see him missing high when he throws the ball. I see him taking 1, maybe 2 reads and looking to run. I see inaccuracies when he throws the deep ball. I am not sold. And so this is going to be the first true test, I think, for him playing against a true Big Ten team and a true Big Ten West contender. And so I am really looking forward to this game. And also looking at the defense, how well are they going to hold up against again, not an elite quarterback. And Adrian Martinez, he's the best quarterback we faced all year. He may be the best quarterback that we face all year, but he's not elite. He's not a game changer. He's not a Trevor Lawrence, Tua, Taya, whatever. He's not at that level, but he's probably middle of the road. Kyle Trask, I would put him and Kyle Trask at similar levels, Felipe Franks. And so this is going to be a true test for our defense of how good are they really. And I'm really looking forward to this game to kind of paint the picture of what my maybe settle my expectations on what I have for this team, because right now my expectations are very, very high. And so if they just go in and dominate this game, I'm thinking we're world beaters, but I'm going to gauge the rest of my season based on this game and kind of put everything else in the background.
Yeah, and I appreciate your honesty because I do think that this is your first defensive test to see if you can stop them from scoring points. And if they're able to score points against your defense, then it's going to be what happens when your quarterback, if they get behind, for example, can your quarterback come out and handle that pressure and make those passes when he has to? And realistically, I think Ohio State can handle this game, but this is a good test for that Michigan State game coming up.
Right.
And Wisconsin and Penn State, this is a game that's going to prepare them for those games, because I don't think this team can hold up against Ohio State, but I do think this game will kind of show what Ohio State has offensively and defensively against a slightly improved opponent.
Right. And I think Nebraska is going to finish probably second or third in the Big Ten West. And so I think they're a real Big Ten West contender. They're not give them a couple years, they'll probably be competing with Wisconsin for that top spot in the Big Ten West. But and this will be a good gauge. And so I'm really, we'll talk about the spreads later, but this is going to be the most fun. And I think game day is being there, maybe a little bit of a jinx. Like I've kind of at the beginning of the season, I pinpointed this game as like the potential Purdue Iowa of a potential upset, and so hopefully that doesn't happen. I don't know. Super anxious about this game on Saturday, and super excited, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
All right, and so let's go on, Tim. I wish we need to look into some like segue music next year. Let's do like some something to move, like to help us besides me saying, okay, let's move. Anyway, let's move on. Talking GatorBucks, Tim. We're doing defensive linemen this week, defensive ends next week. And so who do you have as your defensive lineman for your all-time Gator team?
Well, for my defensive tackles.
That's what I say?
You just defensive lineman, but I know what you meant. I know what you meant. Defensive tackles. So my first one I'm going to mention is Kevin Carter, who played from 1991 to 1994. He was actually a first-round pick, 6th overall, to the St. Louis Rams in 1994. He's a 3-time SEC champion, 2-time All-SEC. He was a consensus All-American, 2-time All-American overall, and a finalist for the Lombardi Trophy.
Yeah, he's legit.
Yeah.
He seems okay. All right. My backup guy is a gentleman by the name of Bill Willis. Okay, have you ever heard of him?
Nope.
Well, that's because he played during World War II, Tim. 1941 to 1944.
Well, maybe he should have been in Germany.
Yeah. Well, this guy is on the thing because of a lot of what he did in the pros. And so I know I can't mention a lot of what he did in the pros, but listen.
But you're going to.
I'm not. I'm going to try not to. Bill Willis was one of the first African Americans to play for Ohio State, and he was one of 2 to be, I think, drafted in the NFL that year. So he was a pioneer of the African American community playing sports, playing college football. And so we have to give a shout out to him. His jersey was retired by Ohio State, the number 99 jersey, in 2007. The thing about Mr. Willis is I cannot find any college stats on him at all. I don't know if they didn't keep stats in the 40s, but he has just a laundry list of NFL accolades. And the best part about him is that he was undersized, as everything I'm reading, undersized but quick. He played for Paul Brown, and he was quick. He won a national championship and a Big Ten championship while at Ohio State. And just kudos to this guy for, you just think about, and I just, away from the stats, away from what we're doing here, but to think about what this man had to go through playing college football during this time, the scrutiny he had to go through, just the man that he had to be able to play during this time. And it's just special. And I tip my hat to this guy because he was a man. He was a man.
Yeah. No, it is very inspiring, but why do you think it took until 2007 for his jersey to be retired?
I don't know. I think I don't know. I have no idea. I think maybe just I don't know. It was probably something going on at the university at that time to recognize somebody who accomplished the things that he accomplished. The number 99 jersey, it's probably an iconic number. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't want to step on my own toes here and say something that I don't really understand. So I can't answer that.
All right. Well, it sounds like he was a solid player, but I don't know if his
the all conference. He was apparently all conference. It's really hard to find stats on this guy playing college football, but he won it. He started as a sophomore, has a retired jersey. He led the Buckeyes on defense in an undefeated season in his senior year, and he's in the College Football Hall of Fame in 1971. So, he was legit. He was quick. He was small and quick as a defensive lineman, and so he is my number 2 defensive lineman. Bill Willis played for Ohio State from 1941 to 1944.
All right.
Man.
So who is your number 1 defensive tackle then?
You want me to go number 1?
Sure.
All right. Dan Big Daddy Wilkins. That's what they called him. He was a teammate of Mike Vrabel in 1993. And so you got Mike Vrabel playing defensive end and Big Daddy Dan Wilkins playing defensive tackle. He started for 2 years, 90 tackles, 23 and a half tackles for a loss, and 6.5 sacks. First team All-American, first team All-Big Ten in 1993. Part of one of, if not the best, defensive line to ever play for the Ohio State University.
All right, not bad. Unfortunately for you, I have Alex Brown going up against him. Who? Oh yeah, when was your guy drafted?
Oh, I don't know, Tim. Hold on.
Was he not drafted? It's okay if he wasn't.
Tell me about your guy.
All right, Alex Brown. He played from 98 till 2001. He was a 3-time All-American, 3-time first-team All-SEC. He was also in 2001. He was the SEC Defensive Player of the Year. He had 161 tackles, 47 for loss, and he had 33 sacks, which remains today a Gator record for a career.
I mean, that's pretty good. He's all right. Man, Big Daddy Wilkins, so much of me wishes that we could talk about pro stats. And I'm sure your guy did awesome. Oh, sorry. I wish I would have known this before. In the 1994 draft, Big Daddy was round 1, pick 1. First overall pick in the 1994 NFL draft.
Are you sure it's the same guy?
Yes.
Your numbers do not reflect a guy who was picked number 1 overall.
Number 1, college career, Ohio State. 2-time first-team All-Big Ten. Big Ten Defensive Lineman of the Year. Big Ten Co-Defensive Player of the Year. Consensus All-American. The Bill Willis Trophy winner. Sports Illustrated All-Pro. Yeah, he was the number 1 overall draft pick. So there you go, Big Daddy Wilkins. I was kind of saving that for the end there.
Yeah.
A little dramatic effect. 6'4", 340 pounds. This guy was a monster. No wonder they called him Big Daddy.
Yes. 6'4", 340.
Yeah.
That's a big dude.
Yeah. He's not messing around.
Good for him.
Yep. So there you go. I think that's a close one. Obviously, I'm going to give the nod to Ohio State. First overall pick, a lot of accolades, stats to back it up.
Yeah, I mean, his draft pick was impressive, but unfortunately, he had way less tackles, way less sacks, way less tackles for loss. He was not a 3-time All-American. He was not a 3-time first-team All-Conference. He was not Conference Defensive Player of the Year.
First team. He was a Big Ten Defensive Player.
3 times?
No, I mean he wasn't.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I mean,
All-American, 3-time first-team All-Conference, Defensive Player of the Year for the conference.
10.5 tackles for loss, 6. I mean, I think what I was giving you was just his standout season stats. I wasn't giving you his overall college football stats. I was just giving you his best season stats, which is what made him the first overall pick in the
So
19.
do you not know his overall stats?
Of course, I know his overall stats, Tim. I just didn't think it was necessary.
You don't know them. Also, you failed to mention that he played with Luke Fickell.
I know he played. I just read that.
Did you say that?
Yeah. No. I just read it right before you said it.
You're reading straight off his Wikipedia?
Not his Wikipedia, but whatever. Yeah, Dan Wilkins, Dan Big Daddy Wilkins. I think he's deserving of the number 1 spot. Honestly, if I'm going who's the best man for the position, it's going to be the man who pioneered African Americans in the college football world.
That you can't name one statistic for.
They don't have it. It's not my fault.
I can't control that.
I mean, I can't give you what the internet doesn't provide.
All right. So
yeah. I don't know, Tim.
We'll let Chase decide.
Yeah, we'll let Chase decide. Oh, speaking of Chase deciding our team here, he actually came back with wide receivers and what was it? Wide receivers and tight ends.
Yeah, which is ridiculous, but that's okay.
Yeah. And so, do you have those? I think you went everyone. So we got quarterbacks are Florida.
Yes.
Running backs are Ohio State.
Yes. Somehow with wide receivers, even though you conceded one to me, he decided to override you and give you all 3 wide receivers. And then he went all Gators for the tight ends.
Yep, we got killers on our tight end, but that's all right because we're looking at stats. We're like the NFL. We don't really care what you're like outside of the football
as long as
field.
You're good, as long as you
produce, baby, you're on the field.
That's right.
We will make it work.
Just like Chris Carter. If Chris Carter makes it, then
right.
Same exact thing. Same exact thing.
Oh yeah, same exact thing. One of them got an agent his junior year. The other one killed people. Same exact thing.
Potato.
Yeah,
so we have 2 Gator quarterbacks, 2 Buckeye running backs, 3
Ohio State wide
receivers, 2 Gator tight ends. We have 3 Gator linemen and 2 Buckeye linemen.
Yeah.
So basically, we're a complete split.
Yeah.
They're all GatorBuck team.
Yeah. This is fun. Yeah,
really
I think.
Fun.
Yeah, and so now we got the split between defensive tackles going into this week, and hopefully Tim will take a listen to this episode and let us know what he thinks about our defensive tackles before we get to it next week for our defensive ends. And I'm looking forward to our defensive ends because I think it's going to be a fun conversation because both Florida and Ohio State have had some dominant defensive ends throughout the year. So it's going to be a fun conversation next week. Looking forward to that and looking forward to be back here with you next week talking about our GatorBuck teams. And so with that, let's float on through and let's make our picks against the spread. Unfortunately, Tim, do you want to do a recap of last week about the dominant lead you took over me?
I would love to.
Picks.
So before last week, I had a 2-1 lead on you, correct?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, 2-1.
So after last week, you had picked Georgia minus 14.5 over Notre Dame, and I had picked Notre Dame to cover that, and Notre Dame did cover. And then Auburn, I picked them to cover that 3.5. You picked Texas A&M, and Auburn actually won that game, so I covered that. So it went from up 2-1 to up 4-1. So I now have a 3-point lead over you. The rest of it, we both picked Wisconsin, which they dominated Michigan. We both picked Florida, which they dominated Tennessee. We both picked Ohio State, which dominated Miami, Ohio. So as of right now, I have a dominating 3-point lead on you, which means a whole lot of season left to go.
Yeah.
So moving on to this week, we have 4 games. But before we get to that, can I just mention the exciting thing going on in HBO?
Yeah.
Have you heard about this? This is huge.
Yeah.
So
huge for Gator fans. Huge for a select population.
Just in general. It's not just Gator fans. There's other fans on it as well.
All right.
So next week, you're familiar with the NFL show on HBO?
Yeah, Hard Knocks.
Yes.
Football one. Yeah.
Heard of it. Good. So they've done one very comparable, but it's actually NFL. I mean, college. It's college. Sorry, NFL. It's college football. So the Florida Gators are the first team picked in this, and they're actually going to be on HBO next week. So it's It's huge. Like it's
that's fun. That's fun.
24/7 college football. So there'll be an episode with Florida this next week. I believe it's on Tuesday. And then it's covering the Gators all week before they play Towson this weekend, where I'm going to be, in case you forgot.
Nice. Yep.
I will be there. And then they're following up with Penn State, Arizona State, and Washington State in the next 3 weeks. So it's just really getting in behind the scenes, seeing how teams do things, how the teams are run, how they play. So it's really fun. I'm really excited to see it. So make sure you tune into that. Watch the Gators team on 24/7 Sports on HBO next week.
And Tim, give us a recap next week about what all happened, because I'm probably not going to watch it. But
absolutely, it's going to be exciting.
Yeah,
I'm
looking forward to those.
I'm doing the whole pregame. I'm going to be there all day. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun.
All right, so from there, we have 4 games we're looking at this coming week.
Okay.
So let's start with since we're already there, that's the Towson versus Florida. Florida is favored by 33 points.
Woo.
So, Shipe, you want to start this one?
No, I don't know. You should see my page here. I circled Towson first, scratched them out, thought about it, circled Florida, thought about it, scratched it out, circled Towson, put a plus next to it so that I knew, thought about it, scratched it out, and I finally settled back on Florida because I was thinking about this, and I thought, 28 points is not that much when you think about, winning by 28 points. That's pretty typical to beat these lower level MAC, Conference USA teams. And so I think they're at least going to win by 28. And so I could see them still tacking on another touchdown after the 28 points. So I can see them winning by more than 33. So I'm going to go with Florida on this one to win big.
I was really hoping you were going Towson because I picked Florida from the beginning.
Yeah.
Here's why. Because Towson, they're 3-1 this year. Their one loss to Villanova in overtime, but they gave up 54 points to Villanova. They've given up a lot of points this year against bad opponents. Their offense can score points, but even if they score 20 points, they're going to give up 70 to Florida. So Florida, I don't care what quarterback is playing. Florida's going to score points, and I think 33 is a reasonable number to give up. Yeah. So I pick Florida this one all the way. So I agree with you 100% there. The next one is Ohio State. They are giving up 18 points at Nebraska. So I looked at this. I think Nebraska has a chance to score. I'll go ahead and go this one if you want.
Yeah.
So I think Nebraska's going to score more than other teams might have, but I still think that Ohio State's going to do enough. I don't think Nebraska's good enough to win this game. I don't think Nebraska is good enough to keep it close. I'm picking Ohio State to win this game by 21 points. Okay, so you're going Ohio State. This is a tough one for me to pick as well because this is Nebraska's season, I think. They win this, they turn their whole season around, and they run the table in the West. They lose it, and I don't know if they'll deflate, but it's not. This is a nationally televised game. This is a home game against the best team in the conference. This is a college game day is going to be there. This is a game that they are going to get up for and they're going to be hyped for. And so Ohio State has to bring everything that they have, not just to win, but to cover this 18-point spread. I'm still going to go with Ohio State because I think our defense is that good this year. They're disciplined. But, again, it's so hard to tell because we haven't played an offense like Nebraska all year. And so they're more disciplined than they were last year because even against the Slobs last year we were giving up. Teams were just, running the ball all over us, slicing and dicing through our linebackers. And so I'm going to go Ohio State, but it's not a comfortable thing. I don't feel necessarily as good as I'd like to about this game. Let me make you feel a little bit better because I don't know if you pay attention to this. The 4 games Nebraska's played this year, they played South Alabama and gave up 21 points. They gave up 34 against Colorado. Yeah. They only gave up 8 against Northern Illinois, but then they turned around and gave up 38 against Illinois. Yeah, their defense is not good. They're not good. Adrian Martinez and their offense have to make up for a bad defense. So their defense is not good. Ugh, I'm nervous. Okay. All right. So next game, I'll let you call this one. We have USC at Washington. Washington is favored by 10.5. All right. This one,
I'm going away. I'm going to lay 10.5 points, and I'm going to go with USC. I don't want to, but I just don't know how good Washington is. USC has proved me wrong several weeks throughout the year because I honestly thought they'd only win one game up until now. I just didn't think they're that good, but they seem to be better than what I've anticipated, and so I think they're going to carry that on to Washington and maybe not win, but at least keep it close.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I didn't want to. I feel the same way you do about this. I think you and I feel very similar with USC and Notre Dame, and specifically. But the fact that Washington lost by 1 point to Cal, since then they've beaten Hawaii and BYU, which both of those teams have shown they're not excellent teams.
Right.
So just based on that, and I think USC did enough last week to show that Washington, you just don't know what you're going to get week to week with Washington anyway. Mm-hmm. I don't trust them. I think USC is a better team, even on the road. I think they're going to win. They'll win this game by.
You think they're going to win?
Yeah.
Not just. Wow.
Yeah.
Washington's favored by 10.5, right? I wrote that down correct, right? It's
right.
Not, okay. Yeah. All right.
So I think we agree on that one, right? Like we both think USC is going to win the game.
Yeah. Yep.
And the fourth game is Virginia going to Notre Dame, and Notre Dame is favored by 12 points.
Yeah.
So I think there's a mixed reaction to the last week's game Notre Dame playing against Georgia. Like I think half the people took this as Notre Dame was way overrated, Georgia's not that good. And the other half took this as, see, Georgia, Notre Dame was better than we thought they were going to be. So depending on who you ask, I think people have different that result.
Let's talk about I watched this Georgia-Notre Dame game last week. Let's talk about it for just a quick second because Georgia had everything going for them. They brought the house. I mean, you couldn't hear even the announcers. Like, their fans were going nuts. They had light shows. They had everything. This was a home game by all means. I mean, in every way, this was a home game for Georgia. Yeah. And it still came down to the final possession for Notre Dame.
Right.
So I've been giving Georgia, and it's no more. I think I'm going to hit my top 4 at the end of this episode. But Georgia, I was giving them a ton of credit, especially on the offseason. I think I had them number 2 because they've recruited well. I thought they were coached well. They had their quarterback's entering. This is his 3rd year as a starter. They should be really, really good. But I don't know who this team is. I don't know if they're really good at all. They've fallen out of my top 6 because I just don't know who they are or if they are as good as what I anticipated.
But this is what I'm talking about, though. Is this Georgia's not that good, or is Notre Dame better than we thought?
Right. No, Notre Dame's not better than we thought. No.
Are you sure?
I'm not sure. No.
Because here's my response to that. My counter to that would be, with everything going against Notre Dame, they were down. They couldn't stop the run that Georgia was running all over them for 3.5 quarters. Yeah. And Notre Dame came back in that 4th quarter and made it a competitive game. They made it an interesting game at the end.
Yeah, they did.
So my question is it possible, and I'm not trying to be an SEC homer. Please don't. I hope I don't sound that way. I'm just asking the question, though. Is it possible that Notre Dame was better than we thought?
Sure, absolutely, it's possible. But I'm going to need games like this week. I'm going to need some more evidence of that because we have to let the season play out because let's see, how is Georgia going to play against the big dogs in the SEC, and how is Notre Dame going to play against their mediocre schedule? I don't know. So it's so hard to tell. And
it's like, why is Virginia ranked 18th? What has Virginia done to earn that ranking?
Yeah, so true.
They beat Pittsburgh, William & Mary, and Florida State, and Old Dominion.
Right.
What?
I haven't even actually looked at Virginia. Did they win those games dominantly? Did they look good winning them, or did they just skate by?
No, they barely beat Florida State. When Florida beat Kentucky, as soon as that game ended, the Florida State-Virginia game came on the last 3 minutes, and Florida State was trying to drive and score a touchdown, and Virginia somehow survived and won that game.
Okay.
And Florida State, let's be honest, they're not a good team. They dominated against William & Mary and against Old Dominion, and they beat Pittsburgh by 16. Okay. So I wouldn't say they dominated the 2 conference games they played, and the other 2 teams, they're not even Division I schools, so they don't even count.
Yeah.
This is the first real test that Virginia's had this year, and somehow they're ranked 18th in that. But what have they done?
Right. So here's what this game is going to come down to. Notre Dame favored by 12. It's going to come down to how is Notre Dame going to respond to that loss?
Right.
Are they going to crumble and be deflated, or are they going to rise to the occasion and try to show that it wasn't a fluke against Georgia?
Well,
yeah.
And I'll go first here if you want, since you went first last time. I think that their whole argument for this whole school at this point is, we don't have a conference championship. We just have to win out, and we have a shot. And I think that for that reason, I think that Virginia's not that good, in my opinion.
Right.
I think that Notre Dame is going to come back. They're going to win this game by 3 touchdowns, and they're going to be like, see how good we are. We beat a ranked team. We're going to just win the rest of our week non-conference games, so they don't have a conference. They're just going to go on and win out, and they're going to be like, see, put us in the Final Four again, and we'll by 30 in the semifinal, because that's what we do. And try to save their coach's job again. But that's it. I guess that's how I look at it.
So you have Notre Dame winning by 2 touchdowns?
Yeah.
Man.
Easy.
Man. So here's again, I initially circled Virginia, and as we're talking, I switched it to Notre Dame. But as we're talking again, I'm thinking, boy, they have to win by 2 touchdowns basically, or a touchdown and 2 field goals. To even cover.
But are you thinking that because of that, or are you thinking that because, like, dang, I'm down by 3 points, I got to try to find a way to catch up?
No, I'm fine if this week's a wash, but, man, all right, Notre Dame's at home.
Mm-hmm.
So you give them 3 points right off the top for that.
That's a 9-point difference.
Touchdown and a field goal. Yeah, going Notre Dame at home. At home, yeah, Notre Dame by 14.
Yeah, I don't like this Virginia team. I just can't. There's no way I can comfortably pick them over Notre Dame. Can't do it.
Yep, I'm with you. Notre Dame. So we are going to stay at 4-1 this entire until next week. So we'll end this episode with the Florida Gator fight song, because Tim has taken a commanding lead, 4-1. And so, Tim, I want to talk top 6 teams in the college football world. I'm kind of hitting you with this out of the blue. We didn't talk about this in
totally. Off the cuff.
So here I'm going to give you mine, and then if you want to give me a yay or nay, or disagree with my top 4,
okay,
and tell me why. Okay, this is going to take us beyond a little bit what our time frame is, but that's all right. So number 1 is let's start at number 6.
Okay.
Work our way up. I have number 6 of Wisconsin. And their running game is good, but I think the reason why I have them at number 6 and why they're different than what they were in the past. In the past, I think you could look at Wisconsin as being the best team in a terrible conference, and so they'd always be ranked high because they would win. And they'd always have big what is it, Brad Nessler, big hog mollies up front, right, with a running back who could hit the holes and hit them hard and get about 6 yards a carry. This year, they're passing the ball well, they're running the ball well, and they always play tough defense. And so Wisconsin is looking more and more like a top 5, top 10 team every single week. And, again, we don't know what the identity of this Michigan team is. Is Michigan that bad? Is Wisconsin that good? I think Wisconsin is that good, and so they have crept up into my number and to the number 6 position for me.
I have no problem with that. And honestly, for me, it's more based on their defense.
Yeah.
Because their defense is ridiculous. Like, Wisconsin is on the same level as Michigan State. The difference is Wisconsin can score points.
Yeah, exactly.
So for that reason alone, I totally agree with that pick. Like, they overly impressed me against Michigan.
Yeah.
They did way more than I expected they would. And, I'm not a huge Big Ten fan, but this Wisconsin team is legitimate.
Yeah, they seem to be.
If they keep doing what they're doing, if they beat Ohio State and they continue what they're doing beyond that, then they have a legitimate chance of winning this conference and being in that Final Four.
Right. They do. Number 5, I have LSU. Joe Burrow and that passing game, their new offensive coordinator, I can't think necessarily who he is, but their new offensive coordinator has re-identified what this offense is. And with Joe Burrow at quarterback, he's able to execute his vision for this offense. And so I think LSU has taken this step forward from being a good running team and a good defensive team to being a better, well-rounded team. And so I think LSU – right now I have LSU at 5, but honestly I think them and Bama, you could basically interchange them wherever. So I think LSU is equal with Bama, but as of right now, until proven otherwise, they are at 5 for me.
I'm squinting at your Alabama reference there. For me, number 5, I think Ohio State has to stay at number 5 right now until next week when they actually play what I consider a more comparable opponent. Just because I have questions about their offense, like we talked about their quarterback, and I want to see what their defense can do against a better offense too.
Okay, that's fair.
So that has nothing to do with LSU. It is more to do with Ohio State at this point, because at least LSU has played what we talked about being a top. Well, you definitely consider them a top 10 team to start this year against Texas.
Yeah.
So based on that,
I know.
That's why I put Ohio State at 5.
Ohio State at 5. Okay. Yeah. Number 4 for me is Oklahoma. Oklahoma is in the same boat for me as Clemson, to where they look good, but they haven't proven anything. Offense is just like last year. Defense seems to be just like last year. Holes like crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think the only chance Oklahoma has of being in the top 4 is if they don't lose.
Right.
If they make the top 4, I don't think that they're going to do anything in the top 4 because it's the exact same situation with maybe a less talented quarterback.
Right.
So,
maybe. I mean, he looks good, and he looks good.
And it's nothing against him. I just think we saw an overly impressive quarterback last year's situation. Yeah. But what I mean by that is I think that it was an unbelievable situation for them last year. I think their defense is as bad as they were last year.
Yeah.
And their offense might be a tiny bit worse.
Yeah. Jalen Hurts is a man on a mission, though.
He is.
Did you hear his post game? He did like a post game interview where they were like, this was a really great win, great job, and he's like, doesn't matter, we're on to next week. Like he was just very focused, and
that's great. But he only plays one side of the ball,
right?
So he can do everything he wants. But if every opponent can score against him every single possession, then it doesn't matter. So for that reason, I don't even consider. Actually, Oklahoma was bumped out of my top 6 by Wisconsin.
Really?
Because I think they need to play somebody else who can, a legitimate team. Oklahoma I think their opposition has been worse than Ohio State's. So I can't put them in my top 6. You. So this is kind of weird, but I put LSU in there right now based on the fact that they beat Texas. But I think that it's for me, it's a toss up between LSU and Auburn. Because both of those teams are kind of the same right now to me. Next week will fix that for me because Florida will play Auburn. Okay. So that will be kind of the test of, is this Auburn team for real? Up until that point, both of these teams have played better teams, Oregon and Texas, but neither one of those teams has really proven anything yet. So they played better teams based on reputation, but on the field, I don't know that really means anything yet. So I put LSU there, but it's like LSU / Auburn, if that makes sense. Like I know it's kind of a cop-out answer, but that's really what
I think so. For me, LSU and Bama are interchangeable. For you, LSU and Auburn are interchangeable.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, I get it. Which brings me to my 3, which is Bama. And I think I don't know if a lot of people are shocked by this, but I think it stands out a little bit that Bama's not at number 1 or number 2 for me, but Bama has played garbage teams, just like Ohio State. So nothing against Bama as far as playing garbage teams, but 2 out of the 4 of the games that they've played, they've averaged less than 4 yards rushing attempt. Okay, so less than 4 yards a carry against garbage teams. Okay, their defense is being plagued by injury. They're a young defense. Their defense is not what they used to be. They can't run the ball like a typical Alabama team. They have a good running back, but they seem to be getting him out in the flats and throwing him the ball to get him in the open field because I don't think their offensive line is what it typically is at Alabama. And so Alabama, I think Alabama could lose 2 games this season. And so I'm keeping them at number 3 strictly on reputation alone, not based on reputation and quarterback. That's it.
I hear what you're saying, but the other thing I think you need to consider is while the rushing game, their average yards per carry hasn't been great, their passing has,
Right.
like, I think 3 of the 4 games they've averaged almost
Yeah.
14 yards per completion.
Right. Their
So that's
passing
it.
is making up for a bad defense, just like oh, probably just like Clemson, just like some other teams, to where they have such a good quarterback and such a good wide receiving crew that they make up for a bad defense, a bad offensive line, and mediocre. Well, I don't know about mediocre running back, but not an elite running back. He's not your typical Alabama, and so I understand. Like, and here's quarterbacks are going to have bad days, right?
Yeah.
Just like Haskins played against Purdue last year, quarterbacks are going to have bad days. And as soon as Tua has a bad day, they're going to lose because their defense cannot hold up.
Well, my thing is too is part of this. I hope you recognize this is as soon as they get up 28-0, their starting running backs aren't getting the same amount of carries as they would have otherwise. So, and I'm not trying to make. I'm not.
No, I hear you.
I'm not trying to excuse them by any means, but I do think I definitely want to point that out because you're talking about, these running backs who are still averaging, sometimes 15 yards a carry against these ridiculous New Mexico State type teams. So it's not like they're not playing well. It's they're getting 4 carries in a game because they've thrown for 4 touchdowns in 10 minutes.
Okay.
So I think they're unproven, absolutely, but I don't know if it's enough. I think we need to see them again. We need to see them against real teams.
I think I should get something if Bama loses 2 games. I don't know what it is, but a pat on the back, because I think I have intuition when it comes to this kind of thing. I said I was worried about Purdue last year. I have intuition about these teams in some aspect, and I think I see Bama losing at a minimum 2 games this year. Could be 3. So,
wow.
Yeah.
When's the last time Alabama lost 2 games in a season?
Right, I know. But
in a regular season, I should say. You're talking regular season, right?
No, I'm talking overall.
Total. Okay.
Total.
Well, that was like 3 years ago when they won the national championship. They lost to Auburn at the end of the regular season and still made the playoff and won.
Yeah.
They won it all that year, so I don't even know the last time they lost 2 games in a season.
Yeah. So I'm thinking 2, maybe 3 games because they're just not who they were last year. They're not who they were probably in this decade. This is probably the worst Bama team I've seen in this decade.
I hear you. I'll definitely give you a high five for that. If they lose 3 games in the season,
high five,
$5.
I'll take it. We'll have to somehow get a picture of us giving each other a high five.
If they lose 3, I'll give you like $5 and a high five.
All right.
Because
I'll take it.
They have the best coach ever in college football. If they lose 3 games in one season, I'll be shocked.
Yeah. High five, $5, and I'll take it.
All right.
Okay. Next, number 2. I think we know where we're all going. Where I'm going here, the Ohio State University. And before
I think you're number 3.
Oh no, number 3 is Bama. Who's your number 3?
My number 3 is still Georgia.
Georgia, really?
Because it's a question again, like we talked about. Is it because Georgia's not very good, or is Notre Dame better than we thought? And I'm going to give Notre Dame the benefit of the doubt, even though I still have doubts about Notre Dame. But I think part of that is my bias against Notre Dame. It's split 50-50, and I'm not trying to be an SEC homer, so I'm conflicted in this, but I'm going to stick with Georgia until they lose. And
I'm with you. I want Georgia to be good because I don't even know if I necessarily want them to be good, but I thought they were going to be so good this year. But they're just not showing it to me. They have a great quarterback, and that's about it.
Right.
So number 2, I have the Ohio State University. Before you interrupt, because it doesn't even seem like Ohio State. What did you say? Number 6 for Ohio State? 5.
5.
And I know that Ohio State hasn't played anybody, so you don't have to remind me of that, Tim. They haven't played. They haven't played a great team this year, but I have not seen a weakness on this team. Okay, they lost 1 game last year, and they had a very obvious weakness last year, right? there was one very obvious weakness, and that was the linebackers and the defense as a whole. Yes, their whole defense. It was just bad. I mean, they were bottom 10 as far as yards and points given up every game. They were just bad, and it took a quarterback like Haskins to throw lights out every game to win. And this year, I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing a solid defense who flies to the football, and I know they're flying to the football against slower opponents, against weaker opponents, but the defense is playing with a chip on their shoulder. And so the only weakness is Justin Fields, and I think he's good enough to where they'll still win every single game in dominant fashion.
Well, here's my counter to that. I'm not trying to argue with you, but here's my counter.
No, you're okay.
You have a new coach and a new quarterback who they've played well against inferior opponents. My counter would be Alabama has also played in much inferior opponents. However, they have the best head coach to ever coach college football.
Right.
They have a quarterback who has been proven to be championship caliber.
Right.
So for that reason alone, I think until Alabama does lose these 2 games or 3 games that you're talking about, I have to put them number 2.
Okay.
Just based on their pedigree alone over Ohio State, because as we've discussed in recent history, Ohio State, I know it's a different coach, a different quarterback, but they've played these big games recently in the past couple of years. In the past 3 years, they've gotten embarrassed twice.
Yeah.
Whereas Alabama has not.
So you're literally putting Alabama at number 2 based on reputation and quarterback.
Well, based on what they've done. Yes.
Reputation.
Well, no, based on what they've based on the field statistics, based on what their quarterback has proven he can do it. For the same reason that you're putting Oklahoma in your top 4 based on their quarterback and what they've done. It's the same.
I'm putting Oklahoma at number 4 based on their offense, not necessarily just their quarterback.
Well, you specifically said what their quarterback has done. It has a chip on his shoulder. But I'm saying based on the fact that this quarterback has won a national championship, he got embarrassed last year. I'm not downplaying that. Yeah. But he got there back-to-back years.
Should he have been there? They walked in. I mean, who'd they play in the semifinals? I can't remember.
Last year?
Yeah. Was it Oklahoma or was it Notre Dame? Either way.
Notre Dame last year? Is that right?
Yeah, and they walked in. I don't remember. It was Oklahoma or Notre Dame, and they walked into the championship because they didn't play a tough schedule, and then they didn't have a tough game in the semifinals. And so they walked in and then got embarrassed in the championship game. And so this year, I think LSU is stronger. I think Auburn is stronger. So they're not going to have the cakewalk they had last year. They're losing 3 games this year. Watch it. Alabama.
I can't knock them out of the top 2.
I hear you.
Based on what you think is going to happen in a few weeks. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, I hear you. No hard feelings.
No, okay.
I don't. Yeah. All right, and number 1, we both have Clemson. I'm gonna.
Same reason.
Yeah, because they play no one, and somebody has to knock them off to fall off.
Right.
I mean, they're going to skate through the ACC because the ACC is the worst conference in college football right now, worst Power 5 conference in college football right now. So they're going to skate through the ACC. They're going to be in the playoffs, and then we'll see who they have to play in the playoffs. Yeah,
I mean, standings speaking, specifically the best team they have the rest of the way is Wake Forest.
What a joke.
I know. So, yeah.
But they're going to be there because they've earned it last year. They embarrassed Alabama.
Yes.
And so they've earned at least to be there regardless of schedule.
And they beat the one team they had to beat, which was Texas A&M, who was considered to be good at that point. What they are now, I think, is a different conversation.
Right.
But like you said, you made a good point a couple weeks ago, and I give you 100% credit for this. These rankings did matter. They do matter because the committee looks at this and they were ranked 12th when they beat them.
Right.
Even though they haven't won a game since then.
Right.
So it does. So I give you 100% credit for that. You absolutely were right, because I think the committee will look at that and be like, well, they did beat Texas A&M when they were ranked.
100%. People who say that these AP polls in the early weeks don't matter, they do, because the committee looks at where these teams are ranked now and what they're ranked in the AP poll. I mean, they 100% matter. And there's no way that if Clemson is not ranked number 1 in the AP poll based on schedule, based on performance, that the committee looks at them and puts them at number 1. If it's any other team playing this schedule, playing the teams that they're playing, if they started the season at 10, they would probably fall in the rankings. So these AP polls, these coaches polls, they matter regardless of what you think. I'm telling you right now, they matter.
Yeah, it does. So I think Clemson's the easy number 1 right now based on their opponents and based on their schedule they have. I don't think they have a hurdle in front of them unless they just absolutely just fall apart in a game and lose to one of these teams. The ACC is a joke.
Yep, it is.
Carolina is a joke. They should be able to win out these games by an average of 40 points a game.
Yep, and they will. They'll skate onto the playoffs, and then I hope they get embarrassed because they haven't played, they haven't played tough competition, and so they're not going to know what tight DBs look like. Throwing into tight windows. They're not, having a defensive lineman in your face every single play. They may not know what that looks like, and so they may struggle when it comes to the playoffs when they play legit competition. But if that's the case, looking at the national championship game and Clemson loses in the playoffs, we're going to come back and play this clip so that you can hear how smart Tim and I are moving on. And speaking of moving on, Tim, I think that is going to wrap up this episode of the Tim and Shipe Show. Final thoughts before we move on and wrap this up?
Just make sure everyone check out our Facebook page this weekend as I'm in Gainesville at the Gator game. I'll be wearing the jersey Shipe bought for me at the end of last year when I won our competition.
Yep.
And, having a good time. So make sure you check that out.
Yes, and don't forget, check us out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at Tim and Shipe. Give us a like, follow, comment. We'd love to interact and have a conversation with you. And we have the Buckeye, the Ohio State groups are blowing up for the Tim and Shipe Show, and so we thank you all so much for that, and we thank you all so much for listening. We thank you to our sponsors and everyone who's involved in making the Tim and Shipe Show possible. Press Play Podcast Network, we love you, and ladies and gentlemen, we love you. And that's the Tim and Shipe Show. He's Tim Jones. I'm Aaron Shipe. That's our show. We'll catch you next time.
And go Gators.